Gentlemen, the case for the Bears here, or the question is, Bears more likely to take a step forward or a step back? And I felt like I had to sit on the sideline a little bit for the Ravens conversation. So allow me. But no, I know the case for regression for the Bears, and even as a Bears fan, I think it is a totally fair question and case to make. So I will do it. I know the reasons why people are going to think that the Bears are going to step back. And part of it is because they like the Lions and they like the Packers.
There's more to that.
No, I know. But so here I think are the three fairest things for the Bears and their case for regression. It is turnovers are very tough to duplicate.
So
they led the league in takeaways. Maybe even if they're ninth in takeaways, they won't be first, right? It's very tough to do that back-to-back years. I think that is totally fair. They will not lead the league in fourth quarter comebacks. Tough to have 7 fourth-quarter comebacks in a season that led the NFL. And this one I think is getting maybe overlooked a little bit nationally, but they were remarkably healthy with Willie's beloved offensive line. Left guard to right tackle,
Facts.
They all played over 90% of the snaps this season. That is
damn near impossible.
Damn near impossible, and especially from what it was 2 years ago to this year, it was night and day. So I think all three of those things are likely to backslide. And I will concede all three of those points. The case for them stepping forward, though, I also took a lot of time and care, and I put that together. If we could just throw that up there, please. Yeah, that's right. They have Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. That is the case of the start. And I know those pictures are a little, extra, and that's fine. But I think that is the case for it. Because I could make the case for they're going to, spend money on their front seven or whatever the case may be. But honestly, if we all sat here yesterday and said that Caleb Williams is an MVP, best player in the league type talent, and we all agree that Ben Johnson is a Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan level offensive mind and play caller, and then you look at those two dudes and you get Caleb year 2 with that guy, plus all of the other under 23 talent, Loveland, Burden, Odunze, Managai, they can have the best offense in football next year that, to me, can overtake those obvious cases for regression. So I will say step forward because I think their offensive ceiling is limitless next year.
I find myself in pretty much complete alignment with that perspective. I was anticipating that he would articulate it in exactly that manner. And I experienced a slight sense of disappointment, because I realized he was going to articulate my own argument before I could. However, setting that aside, the core premise is undeniable. You are highly unlikely to replicate that volume of takeaways, and you are almost certainly not going to duplicate all those fourth-quarter comebacks, particularly considering how remarkable and improbable many of those comeback victories truly were. As is typically the case with most comeback efforts, a certain element of fortune plays a role, doesn't it? That's simply how these scenarios tend to materialize more often than not. Furthermore, we have to acknowledge that the offensive line in Chicago was, without question, one of the premier units, if not the absolute best, in the entire National Football League throughout the previous season. This was an aspect of their team that received far less discussion and analysis than it warranted. It was a quietly dominant force that served as the foundation for much of their success. However, even if we operate under the hypothetical scenario where that offensive line experiences a minor regression, and consequently, the ground game perhaps loses a fraction of its potency, and even if the defense doesn't generate turnovers at quite the same historic rate, my expectation is that Caleb Williams will make a significant developmental leap forward. This progression should be complemented by the arrival of Ben Johnson, who brings not only his innovative offensive mind, but also an anticipated improvement in overall game management and strategic decision-making. When you scrutinize some of the previous game management choices and certain decisions that were made, there were moments that left you questioning the rationale. Taking all of these factors into consideration, I firmly believe it is entirely within the realm of possibility, and not at all far-fetched, for this Chicago Bears offense to ascend to the pinnacle of the league. I realize I may sound like a broken record, repeating this mantra, and that is simply the reality of the situation, but I have been emphasizing this point relentlessly. If Caleb Williams can consistently execute the fundamental aspects of the offense, hitting his layups, so to speak, then this unit has the potential to transform into the kind of explosive, high-octane offense we have witnessed from teams like the Detroit Lions a couple of seasons ago, or the Kansas City Chiefs back in 2018. If that offensive metamorphosis occurs, the reliance on dramatic fourth-quarter rallies diminishes significantly. The necessity for a defense to generate an unsustainable number of takeaways becomes far less critical. The pressure on the offensive line to perform at an absolutely flawless level every single snap is alleviated. Those external factors become secondary considerations. Therefore, when we pose the fundamental question of whether the Bears will take a collective step forward or regress backward, the analysis distills down to one singular, overarching variable: your personal evaluation of Caleb Williams. That is the solitary inquiry you must pose to yourself and answer honestly. Do you genuinely believe Caleb Williams possesses the attributes and capabilities of an elite franchise-caliber quarterback? The response to that question dictates everything. If your answer is an unequivocal yes, then the trajectory points unmistakably toward progress. If, conversely, your answer leans towards skepticism or denial, then the outlook becomes considerably murkier. In that scenario, you are projecting a similar statistical output from Williams, but now you must factor in an offensive line that might be marginally less dominant, a defense that is statistically unlikely to replicate its extraordinary takeaway total of 33, and a team that will probably not enjoy the same fortune in close, late-game situations that led to 7 comeback victories. The convergence of those factors naturally points toward a regression. However, if you subscribe to the belief that Williams will elevate his game, there is no logical justification for anticipating a decline. It is also crucial to define what exactly we mean by taking a step forward. I want to avoid becoming overly consumed by semantic debates about whether it translates to a higher points per game average, an increase in touchdown passes, a surge in passing yardage, or even an improved win-loss record. My conceptualization of a step forward is more holistic and intuitive. It is about observing the team winning games in a manner that inspires genuine confidence. It means we no longer feel compelled to explain away their victories with caveats or excuses. You reach a point where you feel entirely comfortable and confident in their capabilities. As the playoff picture crystallizes, you find yourself asserting with conviction that this Bears team has a legitimate path to championship contention. That, to me, embodies a step forward. It transcends the narrative we often construct around teams showing momentum in the final stretch of a season. The kind of analysis where we segment the schedule, compare the first 10 weeks to the final 7, and highlight statistical improvements. That approach invites comparisons to situations like the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Denver Broncos to some extent, or the New England Patriots on the opposite end of the spectrum. A genuine step forward means the team has simply been great throughout. Of course, every team encounters adversity. There will inevitably be games where Williams throws a couple of interceptions or loses a fumble. Those anomalies occur for every quarterback and every franchise over the grind of a 17-game season. You will always be able to unearth peculiar moments or subpar performances upon close examination. The distinction lies in the viewing experience. As you watch the season unfold, do you find yourself thinking, without hesitation, this is unequivocally a top-tier team in the NFL? Do you reach a point where you don't need to squint or strain to verify their legitimacy? The truth of their capability becomes self-evident. It is easily observable. I will deliberately reference teams that did not ultimately capture a Super Bowl as illustrative examples. The 2023 Baltimore Ravens, the 2024 Buffalo Bills, the 2023 Detroit Lions during their NFC Championship run, or the 2023 San Francisco 49ers. These were all teams that fell short of the ultimate prize, yet you never found yourself struggling to assess their quality. There was no mental gymnastics required. Contrast that with the discourse surrounding, say, the New England Patriots this past season, where analysts and fans alike were uncertain due to the caliber of opponents they had defeated. To me, a definitive step forward means you observe the games, you watch the season narrative develop, and you arrive at an undeniable conclusion. Caleb Williams has been outstanding. Ben Johnson and the entire coaching staff, the defensive unit, and every component of the organization have coalesced into a formidable force. The assessment is straightforward and unambiguous. It is a top-tier football team. That level of clarity represents progress. It is genuinely that simple, that binary, that black and white. And the responsibility for achieving that clarity rests squarely on the shoulders of Caleb Williams. I have complete confidence that the supporting infrastructure around him, the talent on the roster, the newly assembled coaching acumen will be more than adequate. The sole remaining variable is whether Williams elevates his performance accordingly. If he makes that leap, the outcome is predetermined. It is the defining difference. This situation represents one of those rare instances where you can metaphorically draw a large circle around the quarterback position and declare, "This is the embodiment of the quarterback's influence. This is the inherent power of that position." When you have constructed a sufficiently robust supporting cast, a great quarterback doesn't just incrementally improve the team. He multiplies its potential exponentially. It will be genuinely exhilarating to witness this experiment unfold in real time. Another fascinating dimension of this narrative is the peculiar energy surrounding the Chicago Bears. It seems a substantial segment of the audience harbors an aversion to them. This is intriguing given their massive, passionate fan base. The media, as we have frequently discussed, will undoubtedly amplify this dynamic. My suspicion is that the combination of Ben Johnson's demeanor and Caleb Williams' persona generates a certain level of friction. Some observers are eager to see them succeed, while others are equally invested in witnessing their failure. This polarizing effect wasn't initially present for teams like the Kansas City Chiefs. Early in their run, there was a widespread desire to see Andy Reid secure a championship, to watch Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce thrive. It was only after their sustained dominance that sentiment shifted toward fatigue and opposition. Similarly, there was palpable excitement surrounding the prospect of Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, achieving Super Bowl glory, analogous to the support Sam Darnold garnered. I am uncertain whether the Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams, and Ben Johnson elicit that same warmth or goodwill from the broader football public. That uncertainty injects an additional layer of intrigue into the proceedings. This dynamic invariably elevates the entertainment value. This division, featuring the Green Bay Packers, the Bears, the Detroit Lions, and the Minnesota Vikings, ranks among my favorite landscapes in professional sports. It comprises 4 intensely competitive franchises, each supported by fervent, passionate fan bases that are perpetually hungry for success. It is a grueling gauntlet. I previously characterized this division as a relentless battleground, and despite some teams experiencing regression, the Lions took a step back at one point, and the Vikings have their own question marks, the competitive intensity remains. The Vikings currently present the most significant uncertainty due to their quarterback situation, yet I anticipate the Lions maintaining their competitive edge even if they fail to replicate the heights of the previous 2 seasons. They will remain competent, physical, and resilient. They won't suddenly devolve into a franchise resembling the pre-Jaden Daniels Washington Commanders or the New York Giants. Even a franchise like the Vikings, facing transitional questions, is unlikely to languish in mediocrity for an extended period. The Packers, of course, have epitomized consistency and excellence for multiple decades. This competitive ecosystem is precisely what renders the Bears' trajectory so captivating. Nothing should come easily within this division. There will be abundant opportunities for failure, which inevitably amplifies the volume, the intensity, and the temperature of every discussion. I need to recall where I placed the Bears on my recent ranking of teams I am most eager to observe. I believe I positioned them quite prominently. Upon reflection, I am confident I assigned them to the highest tier. That placement was intentional, because my excitement stems not only from the potential for this offense to achieve spectacular explosive heights, but also from the anticipated nature of the discourse surrounding them. If the Bears experience tangible success, I predict the conversation will become progressively more toxic, more intense, and increasingly dramatic. We will be inundated with extreme, hyperbolic takes from all directions. I will be patiently anticipating that development. That concludes my current thoughts on the matter. I am genuinely interested in hearing your perspective. What is your assessment of the Chicago Bears' prospects? Do you foresee them advancing forward or regressing backward? I note that Vegas odds makers technically project a step backward, with their win total over-under hovering around 9 victories, while other top contenders in the division are situated in the 10.5 to 11 range. The Bears appear to be positioned in that subsequent tier of teams according to the betting markets. Please share your opinions in the comments section. I make it a point to read every single comment, regardless of whether your viewpoint aligns with mine or diverges completely. Let's foster some engaging discussions, perhaps engage in a few spirited debates, but ultimately, let's ensure we are deriving enjoyment from this shared passion. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. We are cultivating an exceptional community here, and I would be thrilled to have you as an active participant. My objective is to construct a space where we all feel genuinely connected and enthusiastically engaged. I believe we are making substantial progress toward that goal. Remember to give this video a thumbs up. It significantly enhances visibility and interacts favorably with the algorithmic recommendations. I appreciate your support immensely. I will connect with you in the next installment.